Good evening, colleagues, and thank you, Chairman. As you mentioned, I am sitting in for Rep. Hopkins, who is going to have a very late night in judiciary. I bring to you on her behalf House Bill 5399. This is the Education, Equity, and Property Tax Relief Act. Rep. Hopkins has worked very hard with her school committee in Warwick on this issue. And I apologize that if I'm unable to address all the points, but I'm going to do my best to make sure all of your questions and concerns are addressed. I think one of the things that we have in common, no matter what district we come from, is that we will constantly hear from our school committees about the burden of unfunded state mandates. And certainly for the last 16 years, I've never had anyone get very specific, any school committees get specific on what they were looking to address. The town of, or city of Warwick rather, hired a firm to review all of the statutes and policies of Rhode, and came up with a document, a binder. It was about 2 inches thick of things, and that was the beginning of where this bill came from. I want to first, in the context of this bill, describe to you what a mandate is as we talk about unfunded mandates. It's any rule, regulation, or other policy implemented by the department, Rhode Island Department of Education, that requires an action to be taken or not taken, and which requires a school district to expend funds as a result of that rule, regulation, or other policy, and no funds are provided from or through the state, including but not limited to the foundation education aid formula to support that action. So that's what defines mandates as we talk about this bill. It's important to point out that this bill only applies to directives of Rhode. It does not apply to state law, things such as fire drills, obviously safety and other things like that we certainly don't want schools going without. What does the bill cover? So it only covers mandates from the Rhode Island Department of Education that are not fully funded. So if half of the funds are put forward towards that mandate, it would not apply in this bill. Some of the examples from that, the right to read teacher training requirements cost in Warwick, they cost the district about $220,000 a year, teaching, quote unquote, the science of reading, but over many years have not moved the needle in any way. And they've measured this. And their questions are, why would we continue with a program that is not yielding positive results? Another example would be the required use of certain vendors for certain tasks like curriculum development and training of employees. Rhode mandates the training and limits the vendors that the district can use. So, and this has been demonstrated by not just Warwick, but other districts, where they can get the exact same service and or products from different vendors for a much more agreeable price, but are not permitted to or are punished, fined, punished, however you want to, monetary fees are applied to them if they do not use the vendor from the state that the state has recommended. I'm going to give you one more, and this last one is I think, it really puts it into focus. Many of us remember when we mandated SAT testing for every single student. And we do it whether or not that student has already decided that they're going into the military, or they're going into an apprenticeship program, or they're not going anywhere. Be that as it may, they're required to take the SAT at cost to the district. This is a double whammy because not only is that cost being borne by the taxpayers of that district, the homeowners of that district, but it's tanking the averages of that school's SAT scores, because you will have students who want to get the heck out of this mandated test and will just go A until they're done, and they'll get up and walk out. And this has also been documented by these school committees. What does the bill not cover? It doesn't cover mandates that are partially funded by the states, by the state, right? So if if there is a program or a requirement that receives state funding to some degree to support it, then that would not fall under this. And one of the areas where I think this would be most interesting to school districts and most important for them to know is that it will not apply to the CTE pathway programs, which we hear a lot about, and I'm sure you guys hear a lot about them here. A district, in order to not pay or not engage in this mandated practice, will have to certify to the Department of Education in writing within a certain amount of days. It's in Section 2B, I think, of the bill. Or maybe it's not 2B. I don't know. That's the question. I can't even stop myself. By August 21st of the fiscal year that the school is going to be making that spending. I mean, ultimately, our wish would be that Rhode would fully fund all of these. You know, if we feel that these are important enough to include in the policies of our educators, then in our education institutions, then we ought to fund them. If they're not going to fund them, then we will hope that they will think a little bit harder before they continue to add more unfunded mandates. Right now, I just learned this last night. For years, there's been a policy from Rhode where a list of approved 5 high-quality curricula will be provided by Rhode, from which school districts can choose to purchase their materials and to teach. And this has been extended time after time after time. Rhode has actually put in for the extensions, and they have not put in the most recent extension. Therefore, it is now upon these districts to choose from these approved curricula. The only problem is they haven't approved 5. In one case, and this person who reached out to me is a physics teacher, there is only 1 approved, and this one is notorious among all of our school districts, or many of them anyway, and I confirmed that with a colleague of ours who's in the business of educating children. The only one that's approved is essentially junk science. It's a physics unit that doesn't even have any math in it. And the school and the teachers don't want to teach it. It's just not an effective way. But it's the only one approved, and they will now be mandated to do that. This bill has drawn a lot of great support. And you have in your packet most probably what I'm going to ramble off here. And I suspect you'll continue to get more. This came to us, the genesis was, as I said earlier, the discussion in the meeting with the Warwick Public Schools. So you'll see in your packet that the school committee has reached out. We see that the Rhode Island League of Cities and Towns has also reached out in support. The Coventry Public Schools, which are in my district, they've reached out. The Superintendents Association and the Rhode Island Association of School Committees have also reached out in support. And as I said, I suspect you have even more that has come in since then. Certainly, Rep. Hopkins is wide open to any conversation regarding sub-A's or amended language. It is an important issue, again, that we all deal with. And we've had a lot of very positive conversations with the various stakeholders across the state about this, and there is a lot of excitement.